Imagine clocking in for 40 hours every single week, watching decades of steady paychecks arrive, only to realize at age 60 that your bank account is entirely empty. This is the chilling reality for millions of hardworking people whose financial futures are stolen not by a sudden economic collapse or a catastrophic disaster, but by a slow, unseen psychological force. They had every mathematical chance to build a safe, prosperous life, yet they reach retirement with nothing but crushing regret and mounting debt. This invisible thief lives embedded in our daily consumer habits, hiding in plain sight behind bright screens and frictionless transactions. It waits in the grocery store checkout line, lurks within the targeted advertisements on our smartphones, and constantly whispers the dangerous lie that we deserve an expensive reward right now. It quietly siphons away the compounding wealth we could have easily accumulated, leaving behind a devastating trail of broken financial dreams and empty pockets. This silent, relentless thief is known to behavioral economists as the crisis of instant gratification. It is a fundamental, devastating inability to wait for what we truly need in the future, which is constantly traded away for whatever cheap dopamine hit we happen to crave in the present moment. The psychological trap snaps shut the exact moment you experience the quick neurological rush of purchasing something brand new. Your brain receives a fast, powerful injection of dopamine when you hand over your hard-earned cash for a premium iced coffee, a designer shirt, or the latest shiny electronic gadget. But that fleeting chemical high conceals a terrible, compounding financial cost that you simply do not recognize until the damage is irreversible. Every single dollar spent on a temporary thrill is a dollar permanently stripped of its ability to multiply through the power of compound interest. The mathematical reality of this loss is rigid and incredibly cruel. When you trade your future financial security for a brief 5-minute moment of joy today, you are systematically locking yourself inside a suffocating cage of endless paycheck-to-paycheck labor and constant economic anxiety. That superficial rush of consumer joy completely evaporates in a matter of minutes, leaving behind nothing but a crumpled retail receipt and an empty cardboard cup. Meanwhile, the catastrophic damage to your long-term investment portfolio echoes across an entire lifetime, permanently altering the trajectory of your eventual retirement and your ultimate financial freedom. Look closely at the ledger of your own recent choices, and you will clearly see the dark shadows of this behavioral trap. Think about the $20 fast food delivery you ordered when you felt too exhausted to cook, or the impulsive online purchases finalized at 2 in the morning. These isolated transactions always appear as small, completely harmless choices, but they systematically drain the lifeblood out of your savings accounts. It is a deeply personal, agonizing pain to wake up decades later and realize your own impulsive hands voluntarily gave away your financial independence. The frictionless paths we take to feel good for just 5 minutes ultimately end up costing us decades of peace and requiring us to work long past retirement age. We literally sell our future comfort for a cheap, disposable thrill today, and the resulting regret is unimaginably heavy. Those small, seemingly insignificant daily choices relentlessly pile up, compounding against you day after day, week after week. Over a period of 20 or 30 working years, these minor leaks in your wallet merge to form a massive, insurmountable mountain of lost wealth and a staggering opportunity cost that can never, ever be recovered. This dark, repetitive cycle of self-sabotage creates a profound mystery that has haunted behavioral psychologists and neuroscientists for over half a century. Why do some individuals easily walk past these modern consumer traps without a second glance, while others fall right into the snare every single time? It is a chilling, fundamental question about human nature, presenting a psychological puzzle about why we actively destroy our own chances at a stable life. Decades ago, a dedicated team of research scientists set out to uncover the hidden neurological root of this widespread financial failure. They desperately wanted to know if the secret to a rich, secure life was hardwired into our genetics from the very start, or if it was a behavioral skill we could actually learn. To find the purest baseline, they decided to look into the developing minds of the most innocent subjects they could find. This intense search for empirical answers led the investigative team directly to the prestigious campus of Stanford University. Deep inside the Bing Nursery School, Researchers constructed a quiet, isolated observation room equipped with hidden, one-way mirrors where they devised a very strange, deceptively simple psychological test that would permanently change behavioral science. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, psychologist Walter Mischel and his team created a chilling test of the human mind that would become known worldwide as the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment. They brought a young 4-year-old child into a completely bare room and sat them at a plain wooden table. Right in the center of the table, they placed a single, highly tempting sweet treat. The parameters of the experiment were incredibly simple yet psychologically cruel for a toddler. The researcher clearly told the child they could eat the one treat right now, or if they could wait alone in the room for exactly 15 minutes without eating it, they would be rewarded with 2 treats later. Then, the adult abruptly walked out the door, leaving the child completely alone to battle their own overwhelming desires. Behind the one-way glass, the hidden cameras silently rolled, capturing the intense, agonizing physical struggle of young children desperately trying not to consume a single marshmallow. The grainy footage showed kids covering their eyes, kicking the wooden desk, and nervously singing to themselves just to distract their developing brains from the immediate sugary temptation sitting mere inches away. However, the true shock of this behavioral test did not actually happen in that bare nursery room. The real terrifying twist came decades later in the 1990s, proving this was not just a silly game about candy, but a statistical crystal ball showing the future. Researchers meticulously tracked down those exact same test subjects when they grew into high schoolers and adults, and what they found in the data was deeply unsettling. The children who absolutely could not wait, the ones who instantly grabbed the single treat the moment the door closed, were demonstrably struggling in life. They had significantly lower SAT scores, higher body mass indexes, and much higher rates of financial instability. The test had perfectly predicted who would fall headfirst into the dark, impulsive traps of adult life. A simple childhood choice about candy had exposed a hidden neurological flaw that would cost them dearly in the real, unforgiving world. Their fundamental failure to delay a small, momentary joy had essentially sealed their economic fate long before they ever signed a lease or earned a real corporate paycheck. It proved that the invisible thief of instant gratification does not just steal our money, it fundamentally rewires our brains to reject the very patience required to build lasting generational wealth. For the children who grabbed the single treat in that Stanford University testing room, the future held a dark and heavy financial cost. As they grew into adults over the next 40 years, their lives became a constant, exhausting struggle against an economic tide they could not see. They frequently found themselves trapped in low-wage jobs that barely paid the mounting bills, always running out of money weeks before the end of the month. The crushing weight of those impulsive daily choices pressed down on them, bringing deep psychological stress and endless financial worry to their households. Researchers tracking the original subjects documented a trail of broken homes, significantly poorer physical health, and a quiet, creeping sadness that never seemed to leave their daily lives. It was a harsh, unforgiving reality, born from a simple neurological inability to wait just 15 minutes longer. This unseen biological force systematically ruined their chances at a peaceful, secure life long before they even understood what was happening to their bank accounts. By the time they reached their 50s, the devastating compound effect of thousands of hasty decisions had completely drained their retirement funds and left them dangerously exposed to sudden financial ruin. The true reason for this widespread financial failure hides deep inside the primitive regions of the human brain, specifically the basal ganglia. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in a brutal, unpredictable wilderness where a reliable food supply could vanish in a single day. If those early humans found something good to eat, they had to consume it right then, or they simply might not survive the freezing night. Our modern minds were literally built for that ancient, unforgiving danger, biologically wired to grab the fast reward and completely ignore tomorrow. We still carry that outdated survival code in our heads today, firing dopamine spikes whenever we see an immediate prize. It whispers to us constantly, telling us to take whatever we want right now, even when that reckless consumption systematically destroys our future wealth. That old brain wiring turns into a deadly, inescapable trap in a modern financial system where survival depends entirely on careful planning and decades of delayed consumption. The very instincts that kept our ancestors alive during the Ice Age now drive ordinary citizens straight into the jaws of predatory lending and lifelong debt slavery. Today, that psychological trap is everywhere, built into the very concrete streets we walk and the glowing digital screens we watch for hours on end. The modern corporate world acts like a highly coordinated secret enemy, specifically designed by behavioral psychologists to break our willpower piece by piece. Bright neon signs and aggressive targeted advertisements scream at us all day, begging us to buy expensive things we absolutely do not need. Plastic credit cards and frictionless digital payments make it far too easy to spend money we do not even have in our checking accounts. We are constantly pushed to feel a sudden burst of happiness for just 1 second, trading away our long-term safety for a cheap manufactured thrill. It is a quiet, highly profitable war against our patience, and most people do not even know they are losing until the collection agencies start calling. Every single time we swipe a high-interest credit card for a quick dopamine fix, the financial trap snaps shut a little tighter around our ankles. The suffocating weight of compound interest begins to accumulate in the background, quietly siphoning away future wages to pay for forgotten moments of instant gratification. This same crippling neurological weakness leads thousands of desperate people into the dark, unregulated alleys of fast money schemes and outright financial fraud. Ruthless crooks and smooth-talking liars know exactly how to weaponize our biological hunger for quick rewards against us. They promise mountains of cash overnight, showing off fake gold watches, rented luxury cars, and a web of completely empty lies. These loud, aggressive promises completely blind us to the quiet, agonizingly slow work that real, sustainable wealth actually requires over a lifetime. We stop looking for the steady, proven path of index funds and start chasing dangerous shadows, hoping for a miraculous lucky break that will never actually come. The intoxicating dream of fast money is just a shiny, deceptive mask hiding a deep, empty hole of total financial ruin. When the shiny mask finally falls away and the scam collapses, absolutely nothing is left behind but stolen time, drained bank accounts, and completely lost hope. The victims are forced to start over from nothing, carrying the heavy burden of knowing their own impatience handed their future over to predators who vanished into the night. We see the chilling truth of this destructive cycle every time new, unregulated money fads sweep through the desperate crowds of retail investors. Perfectly normal people, desperate for a quick lottery win, blindly pour their entire life savings into the newest, highly volatile digital token or meme stock trend. They watch the artificial numbers go up for a few chaotic days, feeling like absolute geniuses who finally beat a rigged Wall Street system. Then, without any warning whatsoever, the institutional floor drops out and those inflated portfolio numbers violently crash back down to zero. Cold panic sets in as they watch 20 years of hard, grueling work turn to digital dust in a matter of mere seconds. They are left with a crushing, suffocating sense of regret, knowing they foolishly traded their family's real future for a cheap, manipulated trick. The smoldering ashes of those lost retirement savings serve as a grim, undeniable warning to anyone looking for an easy, frictionless way out of poverty. The graveyard of financial history is filled with the shattered portfolios of impatient investors who thought they could outsmart the fundamental laws of time and compounding interest. Yet, hidden deep in the shadows of all this widespread failure, a few rare, highly disciplined people find a way to permanently escape the prison of right now. They painstakingly learn to quiet the ancient, demanding voices in their heads and look decades down the road. One man, Warren Buffett, did not just get lucky with his investments. He cracked the dark psychological code that keeps almost everyone else trapped and poor. He realized early in his career that the ultimate secret to having absolutely everything later was to genuinely want nothing today. While the rest of the frantic world ran wildly after fast pennies and daily trading thrills, he sat perfectly still in Omaha, patiently waiting for the heavy dollars to compound. His analytical mind became an impenetrable fortress, totally safe from the deafening noise, the sudden fads, and the blind panic of the emotional crowd. By mastering the simple but incredibly difficult art of waiting, he unlocked a financial power that most impulsive people will never truly understand. He proved that true wealth is not created by outsmarting the market, but by outlasting the impatience of human nature, turning the quiet passage of time into an unstoppable engine of generational prosperity. There is one man who stands as a strange exception to all the rules of panic and fast money. Warren Buffett operates with a cold, calm mind that seems almost unnatural to the rest of us. While everyone else runs wild trying to grab quick cash, he simply sits in silence and waits. He does not chase the loud, shiny trends that promise overnight riches. Instead, he looks for good, solid things to own, buys them, and locks them away for decades. His method is chillingly simple, yet almost impossible for normal people to copy. He finds a business that makes a little money every single day, and he buys a piece of it. Then, he does the hardest thing in the world. He does nothing at all. He lets the years pass, ignoring the screams of the crowd, while his money quietly grows in the dark. This strange quietness in the face of wild market storms is the exact opposite of how human brains are built to work. For most of us, sitting perfectly still while money is on the line feels like pure torture. Our minds are wired to demand a prize right now, the very second we do the work. When we put our hard-earned cash into something and nothing happens the next day, a deep, dark panic starts to rise in our chests. We feel like we are missing out, like we have made a terrible mistake by standing still. Every screen we look at flashes with stories of people getting rich in an instant, making our slow path feel like a joke. The pressure to move, to sell, to try a new trick becomes a heavy weight on our minds. It feels incredibly wrong to just watch and wait, because our bodies are screaming at us to take action and grab whatever small reward we can reach today. This deep fear of waiting forces millions of people to abandon their plans, locking them out of true wealth forever. But a few rare people have found a way to silence that screaming urge for a fast prize. They have unlocked a hidden mental door that lets them ignore the shiny traps placed right in front of them. The secret is not just having a strong will, but having a clear vision of a world that is not here yet. They can picture a future reward so massive and real that the small, quick treats of today look like nothing at all. This powerful vision acts like a shield against the endless noise of the world. When someone offers them a quick thrill or a fast buck, they do not even blink. They are anchored to a point 10 or 20 years down the road, living for a reality that only they can see. It is a lonely way to live, but it is the only way to survive the trap of now. Armed with this strange ability to look past today, these patient few tap into the most powerful hidden force on Earth. That hidden force is called compounding returns, and it works like a silent machine in the background of their lives. At first, it is a very simple idea. You save $1, and that dollar goes to work and earns a tiny penny. But then, something magical and slightly terrifying happens. You do not just keep the new penny. You send it right back into the dark to work alongside the dollar. Now, both the dollar and the penny are working together to earn even more pennies. Soon, the new pennies start making their own pennies, building an invisible army of workers that never sleep. You do not have to lift a finger because the money itself is doing all the heavy lifting. It is a slow, steady chain reaction that builds upon itself hour by hour, year after year. Yet the true cruelty of this invisible machine is how perfectly it hides its power in the beginning. The first few years of waiting for this machine to work are filled with absolute agony. You put in your time, you save your money, and you look at the results, only to find almost nothing has changed. The growth is so tiny, so painfully slow, that it feels exactly like total failure. You watch your friends buy shiny new things with their quick cash, while you sit alone with your pennies. A dark, heavy doubt creeps into your mind during these long, quiet years. You start to wonder if the stories of wealth are all just lies meant to keep you poor. Every single day is a battle against the urge to quit, to break open the piggy bank and buy a little bit of happiness right now. It takes a brutal kind of mental strength to keep feeding a machine that refuses to give you anything back. Only those who survive this deep valley of doubt will ever live to see the math finally break open. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, a shocking tipping point arrives. After years and years of agonizing slowness, the invisible army of pennies becomes a massive force. The math suddenly curves straight up into the sky. The amount of money you make in a single month suddenly matches what used to take you 10 hard years to save. It is a breathtaking moment when the heavy rock you have been pushing up the hill finally rolls down the other side. The wealth explodes, multiplying faster than you can even track it. The tiny seeds planted decades ago suddenly erupt into a giant forest, shadowing everything else in your life. This is the exact moment when the painful wait turns into a fortune that can never be taken away. But this sudden explosion of wealth only belongs to those who never broke the chain of time. A single quick choice feels completely harmless in the moment. You see something you want right now and you buy it without a second thought. But that tiny moment of weakness is actually a silent crime against your future self. It is not just about the $20 you hand over to the cashier today. It is about the hidden thousands that money could have become if you had just held on to it. When you spend that small amount of money on a fast reward, you lock it away forever. It can never grow. It can never work for you. That simple $20 bill could have doubled and then doubled again over the years. By choosing the instant thrill, you are literally robbing your older self of a massive pile of security. The true price tag of that quick purchase is shocking when you finally see the math. That one rushed choice sets off a chain reaction that destroys future wealth. Look back closely at your own past choices, and the truth becomes deeply unsettling. Think about the fast food runs, the extra pairs of shoes, the quick thrills that faded in a day. Each one felt like a tiny drop in the bucket at the time, but those drops add up to a massive flood of lost money. The thief taking your wealth was not a stranger in the dark. It was the desire for a quick fix, hiding right there in your own pocket. Add up all those quick choices over 10 or 20 years. The final number is terrifying. That lost money could have bought a house, paid for endless free time, or built a wall of safety around your family. Realizing how much wealth slipped through your fingers for things you do not even remember buying is a haunting thought. It is a heavy weight to carry when you finally see what you gave up. There is a dark mirror to the rule of growing wealth. Just as good choices build up over time, bad choices grow in the exact same way. A small lack of patience today does not just disappear. It plants a seed that grows into a mountain of debt tomorrow. When you borrow money to get what you want right now, you are paying a huge penalty for your lack of waiting. Step by step, the need for instant rewards acts as a deadly trap. You pay a little extra each month to have the shiny thing today. Then you do it again. Soon, the math flips upside down. Instead of money working quietly for you, it works against you, growing your debt larger every single day. The same powerful math that makes patient people rich will completely crush those who cannot wait. The crushing weight of that growing debt slowly turns a bright future into a dark and stressful room. Time is the one thing we can never get back, and that truth brings a deep, painful mystery. What happens in the mind of someone who finally wakes up to this reality, but only when they are old? They look back and see exactly how they could have built a safe, rich life. They finally understand the simple power of waiting, but the clock has already run out. The chance to let their money grow is completely gone. It is a chilling picture of deep regret. They must live their final years knowing they had the key to freedom the whole time, but chose to throw it away for cheap thrills. The sorrow of waking up too late is a heavy shadow that never leaves. They are trapped by the ghosts of their own rushed choices, forced to work hard when their bodies are tired, all because they could not wait when they were young. Looking at a bank account that never grew is a quiet, devastating tragedy. But there is an even more unsettling story hiding in the numbers. It is the tragedy of the almost wealthy. These are the people who started out perfectly right. They built a good plan, they saved their money, and they began the long wait. But somewhere along the dark road, they panicked. When the world got scary, or when they saw someone else getting rich fast, they broke their own rules. Fear and greed pushed them to pull their money out way too soon. They stopped the powerful math right before it was about to explode. They did all the hard work of waiting during the boring early years, but they quit right before the big payoff. The deep sorrow of the almost wealthy is that they survived the hardest part, only to destroy their own success at the very last minute. One sudden move of panic completely erased decades of careful planning. To survive this trap, you must understand what significant wealth actually means. It is a total lie that being rich is about buying fancy cars, big houses, or shiny watches. Chasing those things is just another deadly trap built on the need for instant rewards. True wealth is completely invisible. It is not something you wear or drive to show off to strangers. True wealth is simply the power to buy back your own time. It is the freedom to wake up every morning and decide exactly what you want to do. It is a silent wall of protection that keeps you safe from bad bosses, sudden emergencies, and the constant fear of going broke. When you finally stop buying junk to impress people, you can start buying your own freedom. The ultimate prize of waiting is not a pile of gold, but complete control over your own life. Reaching that ultimate prize requires facing a huge, almost impossible task. We must fight our own human nature. How do you rewire a brain that was built thousands of years ago to grab every instant reward it can find? It is a deep mystery of the human mind. To win this battle, we have to start treating our older, future selves as real people who desperately need our help today. It remains a profound human puzzle. To build wealth, we must actively fight our own evolutionary biology. We are forced to override a primitive brain structure that screams for an immediate dopamine reward right now. The ultimate solution requires learning to treat your distant future self as a living, breathing person, someone who desperately needs your financial protection today. The true cost of losing this psychological battle became devastatingly clear when the fundamental rules of American labor changed. In 1978, the passage of the Revenue Act quietly shifted the massive burden of retirement funding away from corporate pension plans and placed it directly onto the shoulders of everyday wage earners. Suddenly, millions of unprepared citizens were tasked with building their own market wealth. But without the ingrained discipline required to delay gratification, countless workers immediately fell behind. This structural shift created a massive, multi-trillion-dollar deficit in retirement savings that continues to bankrupt aging populations today. This specific behavioral failure rips quietly through modern households, carving a bitter economic divide. When parents fall into the psychological trap of consuming every single dollar they earn, they actively model financial instability, passing those same desperate survival habits and impulsive spending triggers directly down to their children. Entire geographic communities remain hopelessly trapped in an endless cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, never once experiencing the compounding momentum of true capital. The collateral damage extends far beyond missing bank balances. It systematically destroys upward mobility and erases economic hope for the generations that follow. The aggressive credit card boom of the 1990s acted as a catastrophic shock to this inherent human weakness. Deregulated financial institutions mailed out billions of pre-approved plastic offers, effectively turning every residential mailbox in the country into a high-interest debt trap designed to exploit our craving for instant purchasing power. The consumer debt industry engineered a multi-billion-dollar system based on one simple, predictable fact. They knew consumers would willingly sacrifice financial security tomorrow for a depreciating luxury item today. The modern commercial landscape was perfectly calibrated to monetize our worst evolutionary impulses and drain our future net worth. Now, an even darker question hangs over the modern era of gamified trading platforms and frictionless digital transactions. Can any normal investor build lasting wealth when the flashing, algorithmically driven screens in our pockets are scientifically engineered to trigger dopamine and force us to trade faster and faster? Historical market data definitively proves that decades of passive waiting is the most reliable path to vast riches. Yet the financial applications we interact with daily are weaponized to destroy that exact patience. Researchers still do not know if the human prefrontal cortex can survive this endless digital assault on our attention. The final consequence for those who surrender to the lure of instant gratification is a life defined by silent, compounding panic. Medical researchers now directly link heavy consumer debt to chronically elevated cortisol levels, severe clinical depression, and rapidly failing cardiovascular health among aging populations. By continually choosing the fleeting adrenaline thrill of a leveraged consumer purchase today, ordinary people unknowingly trade away their long-term physiological well-being. The human body itself eventually pays a terrible, undeniable physical price for the impulsive financial choices that the conscious mind stubbornly refused to delay. Yet, in the quiet, unassuming corners of every American town, a fraction of ordinary wage earners find a systemic way to escape the commercial noise. They intentionally reside in modest homes, drive depreciated vehicles, and quietly accumulate massive index fund portfolios that permanently shield their families from economic ruin. The ultimate secret to generational wealth is not hidden inside a complex algorithmic trading formula or a lucky speculative gamble. It is found entirely in the profound, quiet strength to leave a single invested dollar alone in the dark and let decades of compounding interest do its slow, silent, and unstoppable work.